I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low?
Hi, my name is Ashley, and I just want to tell you about my story. So I was raised in an amazing Christian home, had the full support of my parents, and just had a great life as a kid. I didn't have any bad things happen to me or anything. I was raised in church, and we went to church 2-3 times a week, and I was always on the worship team. I was serving, even in private schools. I was bullied, like, since I was in school. I would always have friends at church, but as far as people at school, always made fun of just for my appearance. They would make fun of my freckles, my teeth, my nose, the fact that I was short, which, you know, I have no control over. But kids are just mean to me, and instead of seeing my identity as how God sees me, I started to form my identity based off of what all these kids were saying about me. So that I was a freak, I was different, I was weird, which I love now. But as a kid, when you're building your identity and you're trying to find out who you are, that's really hard to just have those constant negative hits to who you are. So yeah, I just dealt with rejection all my life. And I actually couldn't put a name to it until many years down the road, in my mid to late 20s, that it was rejection. And I wasn't able to identify that back then. So it just really hurt, and I just was hurt on the inside and never stuck up for myself. So I would say right before I turned 18, there was one last rejection that just sent me off the edge. I was 5 months away from being 18, and I took this one last bit of rejection really hard. And so I decided to basically flip out and to just renounce God, to renounce just Christian. I just turned on everybody, and I said, well, any Christians, I just hate them all. Like, I hate them all. I hate God. I hate anything to do with the life I was raised in, because it just hurt me the whole time. Or I was hurt the whole time. And I ended up running away, and I ended up on the streets off and on for 13 years. And in the midst of that, I had 4 kids that 2 of them I gave up for adoption. My oldest was adopted by my parents because I got so bad that there was her daycare was about to call the state and have her taken from me, because I would show up obviously on drugs, and not even hiding the fact that I shot up right before I got there. So yeah, I'm very thankful for my parents that they took responsibility for her when I couldn't. And my youngest, so it was something I dealt with off and on for 13 years. And each time I would go back on the streets, it would get exponentially worse, and I would be past the lowest point I was at when I quit before. And the last time that I did all this, it was, I was married, and I'd had my 4th baby, my girl, and with my husband at the time. And my husband was very abusive, not physically, but in all the other ways, which I think are kind of worse, because that still sticks with you. And just the things he said about me and said to me, the person that was supposed to love me and, you know, do what the husband does. And it just brought back all that same stuff. And I relapsed, because I was clean for a couple of years at that point, and had this baby. And it was great. I loved being a wife and a mom and doing that full time. It was amazing. But he just tore me down so bad that I started using again in secret. Lost a bunch of weight, and so it was very obvious. And I got to a point where I couldn't even fight him if I wanted to, like, for rights for my daughter. And he knew that. He got me to a spot where I was kind of stuck. And he was like, he started looking for jobs in Texas. We lived in New Mexico at the time. And he started looking for jobs in Texas, found one, and said, yeah, once you get better and stuff, you can come out here with us. And I was like, okay. So I helped them pack, and they loaded up the car and left. And then he disappeared. He left me homeless in Albuquerque on drugs. I was living in my car, and I just felt like he just ripped my daughter from me. And so instead of just doing the drugs I did before, I switched to heroin because there was no hope anymore for me. There was no way I could fight him, and there was no way I could get out of it because, of course, my parents were protecting my oldest, so I couldn't go to them at that time. So I didn't have anywhere to go, so I just kept using it. It was just a perpetual thing. And yeah, he just took her from me and just disappeared. And took her from my parents, too. He didn't even talk to them anymore. So being on the streets and whatnot, always had drugs on me, and I would have to do shoplifting to survive, you know. So I would get caught stealing a lot, and I always had drugs on me. So I would get drug charges, and they'd let me out, and I'd get more charges, and they just kept stacking up to where I was, because I was not doing what I was supposed to do or follow any programs or, you know, pay anything. I was looking at 8 to 10 years in prison, and they told me this. They said, we've been giving you so many chances, you know, and I didn't care. I had literally gotten to the point where I believed that I was supposed to be a junkie and die. And that my kids would be better off without me. And I just didn't want to hurt them anymore, so I took ownership of that identity. I was like, you know, that's what it is. I OD'd 12 times over the course of 14 months. And anytime I tried to do it on purpose, it didn't work. It was always on accident when this happened. And every time I'd wake up from it, I would just start crying because I was like, oh my gosh, my kids would have had to find out that happened. And it kind of scared me the last time I overdosed. It was January 6th of 16. It scared me a little bit because I woke up and I was mad. I was mad that I woke up. And that kind of freaked me out because it used to be really sad and scary and, oh my gosh, this would hurt people. And then that last time it was like dang it, I woke up. So since I was facing so much time and I was very selfish, just thinking about how things affected me, I carried around a self-destruction shot, and if I got apprehended at any point, I fully intended on jabbing it to my leg and not having to deal with anything. And I used to have to sell myself to get drugs. So I was going to meet up with somebody, and it was actually somebody I stole a car from, so he's getting revenge, and I'm glad he did because it saved my life. But I went up to meet with this person I thought was somebody else, and he was actually setting me up. So cops pulled in right behind me, and I had that syringe out, and they were telling me to put my hands up, and I was about to put them down, and something told me not to do it. And I sat there like arguing with whatever was telling me this, and I'm just like, why? Like, I'm never gonna see my kids again. I'm gonna be in prison. Like, why not? And didn't hear an answer back, but I was like, I dropped it. And got arrested, got the charges, went to jail, and was awaiting my sentencing. And it took about 3 weeks to come off of whatever I was on and to physically get over it to where it didn't feel like I was dying. And got through that. I called my parents, and they said, you know, we've given you so many chances that if you're ready to do this, we're behind you 100%, but this is the last time. Like, we're done completely with you if you screw this up. And I was like, okay. Because I knew I was ready for once in my life. I've been to many rehabs, many treatments, and I wasn't ever ready. I was being forced to go. But this time I was over it. And so went to court, was expecting 8 to 10 years. My public defender said, my client has not given me a defense. I think she needs to go to prison. And I agreed with her. I was like, let's just get this over with. And she gave me 4 years instead of 8 to 10. And then when I got my paperwork, it said 1 year incarcerated with 62 days credit. So I ended up doing 5 months instead of years. And that was pretty awesome because I just had to do the rest of the time as parole and probation. So so I did that, and when I got to prison, I decided to use that time to better myself, and I applied to be in a faith-based pod, and just went for it and just committed. Yes, there are drugs in there too. I got offered them all the time, but I was like, nope, I'm done. And it wasn't, once I made that decision in the county before I went to prison, it wasn't hard. It wasn't something I dealt with every day, like I know a lot of addicts do. So I'm very grateful for that it seems like God took that desire away from me and that craving, which is amazing. And I got out, did my counseling, and did that for the whole 3 years. And it was awesome because the stuff that we thought was gone forever, like between our family, like our relationships with each other, my kids, it was so damaged that like we didn't know how God was going to repair it, but we're like, let's just see and just do what we're supposed to do. And I could tell you that like serving on the worship team and leading others like that was literally like healing for me. And I joined the worship team when I got out, and I just committed to that, committed to serving others and to just being there for my kids as much as I could. I got visitation with my youngest, and she actually didn't know who I was when we got her for the first time because she was so little at the time when she left. She didn't know I was her mom. But luckily we had a lot of pictures, and we're like, look, baby, this is you with us. And yeah, my husband was trying to erase us from her memory. So, because he straight up told me before he left, when I was helping them pack, he straight up told me, he's like, I don't care if you've been clean for 10 years, you'll never be able to care for your girls on your own. So, yeah. He just tried to, we have a great relationship now, which is awesome. Get along great, like we used to when I met him, and that daughter's now 10. My oldest is 15 now, and she's driving, and she's a sophomore in high school, and she lives in a different state now, but I go visit her as much as I can. But I'm just so thankful for just another chance and for God's restoration. And before, my identity was in what others said about me and how others just viewed me. Like on the outside, they didn't know who I was. And just over these years, I've just learned, even when I was on the streets, people are like, you're different, you have a different feel to you. And I was like, no, I don't. No, I don't. And I tried so hard to identify with that. And then so many people kept saying it. And like these people I was with on the streets, it was like God was using them to remind me of who I am in Him. And I thought that was interesting, but I noticed it. And I was like, huh, maybe that's true. And so that lined up with what God said about me. And so, yeah, I just learned what He said about me and served others, and that there's so much hope, and God's the God of restoration. I've seen it in my own life with my parents and my kids and my relationship with them, and it's like I didn't leave. Like, we're all so close now, and it's been interesting, but we're all getting through it together and working together, and just know how important that is. But now that I know who I am in Christ and know that all that stuff was just to bring me down and destroy me, which it almost did, I know that all that matters is what He says about me. And now I truly believe that I am beautiful, you know, this is me.
You say I'm loved. me.